Got a real big challenge ahead of us this week. By far, the best team that we've played. Not only just talent and coaching, but also the environment we're going to be walking into. Scott's done a great job here of building this team up. He's increased the talent, picked up some really good players. Both sides of the ball. They do a really good job of stretching you horizontally and get you with tempo on offense, and then on defense, a lot of different looks and very well coached. So this is going to be by far the biggest challenge of the year for us, going on the road. Night game at one of the toughest places to play in a conference. So we get going today with practice and looking for a good week.
We'll open up with questions. Front row, middle, Dave.
Ryan, when you and your staff get together and talk about some of your guys, who's a guy or two maybe that you think needs to play more, will play more going forward?
Just on the whole team?
Yeah, just in general, yeah.
What we kind of do is we kind of go by position and figure out who deserves to play, and that's what was so great about last week was the guys were able to get in the second half. We were able to get real good grades and a bunch of meaningful snaps in there that we could grade and figure out where they're at. So I don't think there's one guy in particular. I think there's a lot of guys who are proving themselves, and the more reps you get in games, the better it is. That's why that was so meaningful last week.
At punt returner, Garrett Wilson looked pretty good in that role. I know it was just one game, but how do you see his role progressing as a punt returner?
I think it's going to progress, especially when he does things like he did, which was hit a big return. But we'll kind of see as we go. But the more he can take on, the better for him. He's still a very young player, but obviously very talented. And the more he can take on, the more we'll give him.
Front row left, Mitch.
Ryan, Adrian Martinez is going to be the best quarterback that you've seen so far, maybe the best athlete. Can you talk a little bit about what he brings? It's so difficult to defend, and also what will you do differently this week, specifically to prepare for what he can do?
Yep, Adrian's a very talented young man. He's obviously a great kid. We recruited him and spent a bunch of time with him. I recruited him and love he and his family. Great competitor, great leader, got a great way about him. On the field, he's first off, he's big and strong and powerful. He's very athletic. So in terms of the run game, his ability to extend plays with his feet, you got to get him on the ground, which is not easy. He's explosive, he's fast, he's strong, and has good running skills, makes good decisions. And then throwing the ball, he's really accurate. So I think when you combine that together of the ability to run and throw, along with his intelligence and game management, he is by far the best quarterback we've seen.
Right behind him, Bill.
Ryan, you talked a lot about Justin's ability to create plays and allowing him to do that. I don't know if every head coach would allow his quarterback to do that, especially a young one. I'm just wondering, were you that way at all as a quarterback, and might that inform why you're allowing him to play that way?
Well, I just think that it certainly helps when you've played the position. Then you've done it, so you understand how it works. But he's a guy who you saw him try to create one and took a sack the other day, but then you saw him also create run and scramble, and then you saw him create and hit a fourth down to Rashad Berry. So that's kind of what we've been talking about, is that he's got to learn from his mistakes and learn from his successes, and when it's time to go ahead and scramble, when it's time to throw it away, when it's time sometimes to take a sack, when it's time to get out of bounds, all those things, and very, very difficult to organize in practice. You're not live. It's just very, very different. And so the more he gets experience in that, we get back on the film, and when we teach him off the film, then I think the better he'll be at making those decisions.
Did you consider yourself a creative guy when you were playing quarterback?
I don't know how I'd describe myself. I think my intelligence certainly helped my level of play more than my athleticism.
I think people wonder a lot about different coordinators and play callers sort of meshing together, but how important is it for the offensive play caller and the quarterback to be on the same page, and where do you think you and Justin are in that 4 games into this?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think anytime you call a play, you're talking to the quarterback. We talk to the guys about that all the time. When you call a play, what are we trying to get done with that play? There's certain plays you're working all parts of the play. You're working a full field progression, and based on what the defense gives you. There's other times maybe you're taking a shot. Sometimes you're throwing to a certain receiver. Sometimes the ball's got to get out on time. Sometimes I got to hold it a little bit longer. But that's all the stuff that's done during practice, done in the meeting room. But again, every time you call a play, that play is giving you information as a quarterback of what we're trying to get done on that play.
Fourth row left, Andy.
Yes, Coach, this may sound like a weird question, but the Lantern's writing a Big Ten preview this week. Have you had a chance to watch Wisconsin at all, and what have you seen from those?
Yeah, I've seen just highlights. I've not studied them at all, but we see them in some crossover games. When we study film, and they're off to a great start. And the quarterback looks like he's in a rhythm. The running back's running hard. Offensive line, as always, is doing a great job, and the defense is swarming to the ball. That's all I can really tell based on what I've seen. But I haven't really studied those guys a bunch.
Can you talk about Jeffrey Okuda and the ways you've seen him grow since you've been here?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job of taking on the technique that Jeff's teaching him and embracing that. And now I think the big thing for Jeff is now, where are we going to go as we get into the middle of the season here? I think he's flashed. Got the interception last week. He's done some good things. But now that, some of the stuff's on film and teams start scheming us up, how are you going to be able to respond to it?
Right next door, Murph.
Ryan, you guys haven't played a full 4 quarters yet. Nebraska's been in 2 games where they've had to go the whole length. How does that maybe impact Saturday night?
Well, I think it's a good point to bring up that we have not played a full game, and in 4 games, that's unique. So it's something that we're going to talk to the guys about. Is that we have to be able to play 60 minutes and prove that we can play 60 minutes. That has not happened. The good news is we've been picking up some depth, and we've been building depth in these 4 games, and guys have played so that we feel a little better about putting guys in the game when we need to, and we can roll guys. But to your point, we haven't been in the fourth quarter in a game where we've had to really grind and work through all that adversity, and so that's a challenge going on the road this week because we will this week.
And last week, you had your first 3:30 game. This will obviously be a night game. Just in terms of game day preparation, how much does that change anything when you have to wait around all day as opposed to even afternoon?
I think it's significant when it's like a difference between a noon game and a night game. Noon game, you got to get up fast, you got to get up early. I mean, it's like Full Metal Jacket as you get going, But at a night game, you have to kind of build up to it. 3:30, somewhere in between. But we have our routine. We're still going to have our pregame meal 4 hours before. We'll do our walkthroughs and meetings in the morning, trying to keep those guys moving. We don't want them in their rooms sleeping all day, and getting lethargic. So we'll kind of get them up and do a walkthrough, different things like that. But it's certainly a gradual momentum builder towards kickoff. You can't go win the game at 10:30 in the morning, get them all jacked up because you're not playing the game then. So there is an art to it, but a lot of our guys have played night games, and so there's experience to build on there.
Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, you guys have blocked a kick or a punt now in each of the last 3 games. What do you think Matt Barnes has done well with those units to allow that to happen?
Yeah, no, I think he's the leader of the units, and he's somebody that wanted to come in and have a bunch of blocks this year, and he's off to a good start. He's had good scheme, but it's all the assistant coaches are involved in special teams. We've got a lot of guys involved with that, and then the players, they're embracing special teams, and I think that goes to show you the culture of Ohio State is that our best players are on the field and they're making blocks and getting some returns going that way, and so. Special teams has been a positive for us so far, but we got to keep that building as we go. And again, it's a whole team effort, But Matt is the coordinator, and he's doing a good job.
Obviously, Urban Meyer put a huge emphasis on special teams. How important is that for you to make sure in this first year that none of that emphasis is dropped off?
Yeah, critical. I'm in every special teams meeting, and that's as the play caller and offense coordinator, it's hard to do. You're missing some different times, or with the quarterback and with some of the other position meetings, but I just think it's so important that I'm in all those meetings and making sure I'm on top of it as well because of what you said. Some of the reasons that the games have been won around here is because of special teams. We want to keep that going.
Also, Isaiah Pryor made the decision to transfer Josh Proctor, missed last week's game. In terms of your safety depth, what does that do at that position? Is there a concern there at all?
Well, we think that we have pretty good depth there. We have a bunch of guys, and when we went to the bullet, that kind of opened up some different things for us. And so now you're looking at, you got Jordan, you have Josh, and there's some other guys there that can also play that. Jocelyn Wink could play there. Marcus Hooker can play there. We have some different guys that can fill in there. So we feel pretty good about our depth there.
Front row right, Austin.
Ryan, what were the conversations with Isaiah like leading up to that?
Yeah, it wasn't a whole bunch of conversation, and we wish him nothing but the best. We're obviously extremely disappointed that he would leave the program, 4 games in, but we just want to make sure he has everything he needs, and there's no ill will there, and he left, amicably, and so we'll just kind of support him the best we can and wish him nothing but the best of luck getting his degree and moving on.
I think coaches generally seem to like this redshirt rule in the 4 games. Is this the the trade-off that you have to make, or are you still in favor of it, even knowing this could happen again?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that this is an example of where that hurts you a little bit, but I do think it's the best thing for the kids.
Far left, Matt.
Dovetailing off of the fourth quarter question, you guys have not faced very much adversity this year, or maybe a little bit because you fell behind last week, but is there any way to tell how your guys are going to react in the second half close game until it happens, or how do you prepare them for something they haven't had yet?
Keep talking to them about it, just keep talking to them about what it's going to take. We did going into the Indiana game. It didn't come out that way. So we'll just keep talking to the guys about that and making sure that they realize that. I think the older guys who have been through it before do respect that and understand that. I think the younger guys, they have to learn a little bit how that's going to be. But all you can do is just coach them as hard as you can, inform them of what it's going to be, and give them the tools ready for when adversity hits, how to handle it.
The last couple of years, Ohio State has had road games that just got away from them. Do you as a staff talk about, hey, what happened in those games, when you reviewed that, and is that something you discuss with the team, or you not want to, that's the past and you don't want to worry about that?
Yeah, for sure. We talk about it in the offseason. We talk about it in the preseason. We talk about it now. And I think one of the things that we have to continually do, which has been our mantra all along, is when you're a prize fighter, no matter what match you're into or what fight you're going into, someone's going to try to take you out, and you have to be ready for that. And if you ever let your guard down, you're going to get knocked out. And so that's been something we've talked about in winter workouts. We've talked about it in the preseason, bringing it every single day so that that something like that doesn't happen. So again, you talk about it, you address it, you just keep following up with it, and you just keep hammering away at it.
Second row left, Ari.
Ryan, I know that Garrett Wilson gets a ton of attention, but I was wondering what your take on Jamison's progression is. I think that he has some track speed that, you might not have a lot of. You have a ton of speed, but
Yeah.
like that, you know what I mean? And how would you say that he's progressed, and we kind of got a glimpse of that?
Yeah, when Jamison got here, we knew his track times were off the charts. We knew his length. We knew his speed. What we didn't know was how tough he was. This is a guy who's practiced really, really hard. He goes in there and just tries to. I mean, there's a couple clips of film where he's just throwing his body around, and that was really impressive to all of us. His work ethic's really good. I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Now, again, does he have to learn how to play at this level and all that? Absolutely. Same thing with Garrett. But both of those guys have bright futures.
Front row right, Bill.
Nebraska's got playmakers you maybe have not seen the likes of this year with Robinson and Spielman, and you already mentioned Martinez. How big a challenge is that going to be?
A big challenge. I think all three of those backs get you in different ways. Wandale is really dynamic. He reminds me of the kid from Purdue, and he can be a matchup problem for you if he gets on a linebacker or speed sweeps, things like that. He can do a bunch of different things, a little bit of a hybrid. And the other guys run hard. Those two other backs, they run downhill. And they got some receivers. Spielman, like you said, is a playmaker. And then Martinez, you have to be able to, handle his feet too. That's the other part of this thing. So when you combine that all together with the tempo, it's hard to prepare for.
And I know that you've had challenges in every game, and you don't take any game lightly. But is there something different about this week? It almost feels like the preseason is over. That it really starts in earnest this week. Do you get that sense in the building?
Well, I think we're trying to approach every game like it's just one game every week, and we're trying not to make it any bigger than the other weeks. I think anytime you're playing, with game day at their place, this is something we've talked about, for a long time, this game, and we know what a challenge it's going to be to go on the road, and how big of a win it would be to get it on the road at a tough place to play, and they'll be all jacked up. I mean, it's going to be an electric environment with game day there, and so we have to handle that, and that's our first real challenge as a team. So I think there is a little bit of that feel going on, but just want to be 1-0 at the end of the day.
Right next door, Joey.
With Adrian Martinez, and when you guys were recruiting him, how close was he to getting a scholarship here?
Very close, yeah.
What was kind of the decision like there?
So Adrian didn't play his senior year, and he was dealing with a shoulder injury, and I've loved him. He came for, I forget exactly what game it was, but he visited with his family, fell in love with him, great kid. It was just hard for us because there was no senior film, and at the end of the day, we just weren't sure, but had a feeling he was going to be a special player. And so hats off to him. He is a special player, and he's everything he said he was going to be, and we thought he would be, and he's going to have a bright future in college and then beyond.
And just looking at your own stats this year, the tempo this year in terms of like plays per minute is a little higher this year. Do you guys feel you're playing faster, or is it early?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's times we're playing fast. I still think it's hard to tell because when in these 4 games, the second half we haven't been able to really get out there with the ones and finish out a whole game. So tempo is a part of our game, but it's not something we're going to do every week. And we'll just keep using it as we think it fits.
Second row right, Kyle.
There are a lot of questions about Ohio State entering the season. Just new head coach, new defensive staff, transfer quarterback. I mean, you've essentially clicked on all cylinders these first 4 games. Like, if you go back to July and August and how you maybe envision this season, I mean, do you think you're ahead of schedule at this point?
I don't know. I mean, I do hear what you're saying. I think that we've shown, some flashes, and we've played hard, we played tough, and we've tackled. But I don't think until you start to get into the meat of the season. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. Until you really get going with some of these conference games, you don't really know where you are. I am proud to say that I think we're playing hard, we're playing tough, we're executing. It's clean. There's not a lot of penalties, not a lot of turnovers. Again, but that doesn't mean anything if we don't keep it going. So, I mean, I think it's a solid start, but it's just a start.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, Brian, maybe kind of a dumb question, but is an opponent obligated to tell you what uniform it's going to wear for a game? You know what I mean? Color scheme, et cetera.
I don't know that, actually.
The reason I'm just asking because of the all black, connotation the last couple of years when you guys have played. So you haven't heard what
I haven't
Nebraska's
actually.
played.
No.
Number 2, when you watch Nebraska on video, people over there think they're better defensively this year. What do you see that tells you they are?
I agree with that. I think they are. I think they've added some pieces up front. I think their front is big, strong, powerful. They use their hands well. And then I think their secondary and linebackers are another year into the system. There's a lot of the guys that have been there last year, and I think they're doing a good job. Anytime you're 2 years into a system, then it's a little bit more intricate. You can get in and out of things. You can make in-game adjustments faster, and they're doing that.
And then one other quickie. Did you get home in time to watch some of the end of that game the other night, the Illinois?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What just stood out to you about their fourth quarter? I mean, what did you see a spark there? You understand what I'm saying?
I thought
team's on a rise.
Well, I think when you look at the numbers, I think it was 670 yards to under 300 yards, and I thought they had pretty much dominated the whole game. They just turned the ball over. So if they don't turn the ball over, I don't think that game's even close. So I think they're playing well.
Over to the right, Clay.
Seems like a lot of growth on offense, and you adapt your plan, obviously, to the opponent. There seems to be new looks, new plays. Is there a less a tendency to do that when the margin of error decreases against a tough opponent at night, or do you stay true to yourself and keep growing?
I think that's something that we talk about on a daily basis, and that is, how much new do you need? And then how much do you just want to let the kids play and run the plays that they know really well? And I think that's, again, the art of coaching is figuring out that balance. You don't want to just keep running the same plays where schematically you're not giving your guys an advantage, but then you overdo it, and then they're tentative and not sure of themselves. So it certainly matters when you're on the road. I think there's more adversity when you're on the road. There's more things in the environment you have to handle. But again, on a weekly basis, we'll try to make those decisions as we go.
And they've picked up things pretty readily, easily.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And we do a lot of concept-based teaching so that we're able to kind of jump in and out of things as opposed to just, this is a play, this is a concept, and how do you fit into the concept? And when you do that, it's easier to kind of move formations around, change ideas. Maybe, you run a route, but you just tag one guy. Things like that. It's a little bit more concept-based. And that way we're able to kind of, move in and out of formations or personnel groupings.
Second row right, Tony.
Ryan, when you were devising what kind of defense you wanted, was this one of those, was the Nebraska offense one of those things that you saw that you need a defense that can defend that type of scheme?
No, it wasn't just that. I think that was just an overall decision. I mean, certainly we take into consideration all our opponents in the conference when we go about making overall general decisions on scheme. But this is one that we certainly have had a lot of conversation about.
just overall, you've got Austin Mack with 7 catches this year, graded out a champion 3 times. What does it say about the unselfishness of that group that they're continuing to grade out as champions and maybe not produce?
Well, they're producing. It's just, their time is coming. And when I think last week, Austin had, maybe 4 targets or something in the first half, doesn't play in the second half. He has a touchdown called back. If he plays 2 halves, then, if he doubles that, that's 8 targets, that's 2 touchdowns, that's a good day at the office. But, it's just one of those things where, he didn't play in the second half. He hasn't played in some of those games. And so, really, if you've only played one half of football for that, for 4 games, the numbers maybe aren't as high. But I think those guys understand that, and their time's coming real fast.
Third row right, Rob.
Brian, conventional wisdom is that everything in this game cycles. What was before comes back. You've got 2 dual threat quarterbacks. It's hard to see how that's going to go away, that it's going to cycle back to just a pocket passer. What are your views on that? Do you see this dual threat guys here to stay, or could it change?
No, I agree with what you're saying. I think that when teams, were more designed to stop, I backfield, they were big 3 linebackers, and then teams started to spread it out, and then they kind of went to what we call a bullet or hybrid guys in there. And then, as teams start to spread it out even more, like in the Big 12 and things like that, defenses adjust. And then, they're more 3 down front and things like that. And then all of a sudden, on offense, they start bringing it in a little bit more and start to get a little bit big. So I think it's a combination. And I think if you're talking about the quarterback position, I think you try to find the best available, and then it's your responsibility to find the best plays that fit him. But I do think the ability to spread it out, get big, and have the ability to go in and out of those with tempo is the way to the future.
And kind of the same cliche type idea. You were in the NFL. People talk about one player being able to change a game. Is that accurate? Is that something we just say? And from your experience, how does that play out? How do you game plan that? Chase Young on defense.
Sure. No, I think dominant players can absolutely make an impact on a game. Now, he can't just do it alone, but he absolutely can make a difference. One guy, and whether it's a 3 technique on defense, whether it's a safety, whether it's a running back, the quarterback. I think that great players can make an impact on a game for sure.
Far left, Ryan.
Coach, Justin has had to process so much in the time. How would you compare the kid that you see now versus August, April, or even January?
Yeah, I think he's 4 games in. He's got a spring and a preseason under his belt, and that's good. But there's still a lot to be learned, a lot to see as we get going in these conference games. So he has grown for sure, and he will continue to grow. And he's got a good approach to him, and he's got the right mindset. But there's going to be adversity along the way, and he's going to have to handle that. And that's when you look back on all the great quarterbacks, they have to handle that the right way, and they have to improve when things like that come into play and handle it the right way. And he will. But yeah, he's much further along now than he was then.
Has there been a moment or an exchange that you've had where you went, all right, we're there now, we're getting there?
I mean, there's definitely times where we see improvement, and there's always aha moments where you're like, okay, he sees this concept now, but certainly a long way to go.
Second row center, Bruce.
How are the coaching challenges different to get a team with 6-win talent to win 9, or a team with 10-win talent to win 12?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I don't know if I have a great answer to that, but certainly, leadership is huge. And so, talent can take you so far, but leadership is what's really important. And then we have to do a great job with our toughness and our effort. Those are really important. So, if someone can tell you that they out-toughed you or outplayed you or out-effort, gave better effort than you did, then that's not good. If you can, at the end of the day, you can say, I played tougher, I played smarter, played harder than the other team, and then we were more prepared, emotionally, spiritually, physically, ready to go. I think, you're going to give yourself a chance to get, from whether, again, like if it's 6 to 8 or 10 to 12 or whatever it is, you got to take care of those type of things.
I just wonder if it's a harder sell to get guys to believe they can be 3 games better from 500, or to get a team to believe when it's winning 76-5, no, there are things wrong here.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a great answer for that either, but that's the art of coaching, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and you just keep going at it every day, and you make the best decisions you can. You you try to motivate the staff to a certain message each week, and you just keep hammering away at it, and you teach them.
For you with your team, is it more telling what you see in practice or what you see in games?
It's both. It's both because you practice more than you play, and if you see certain things in practice, you typically will see them in a game.
Front row left, Nathan?
Going back to the Justin questions, he seemed kind of excited, not maybe excited is not the right word, but being down early, having a little bit of adversity, obviously hasn't really had his back against the wall yet. Are you trying to, what sort of scenarios are you putting him in practice to kind of try to replicate that and challenge him those ways?
That's usually done in the preseason where you put him up against it, or you get him in the second long drill where you got to play third and move him back, whatever it is. This time it's more about installing the plays, and it's about learning the concepts that we're putting in the game plan and things like that. And then we talk about adversity. We talk about handling adversity and how those things as they come up, you handle them like a man, and you don't cower when things don't go well, and you find a way to solve the problem and come up with solutions, and that's what great leaders do, and that's what good quarterbacks do.
And back to the safety question, now that you guys have changed the defense a little bit and you're playing more of just the one high safety, does that change anything as far as how you're recruiting that position? Like which players you're going after, how many of those players you want?
Yeah, it does for sure. Yeah, we've made some of those adjustments based on the body types we're looking for and the job description that we want out of our corner, safety, cover safety, bullet, those guys.
And right next door, Doug?
We asked you a lot about this before the season started. I'm curious how it's gone 4 games in. Just with you being the play caller and the head coach and the other decisions that a head coach has to make with penalties or timeouts or anything, just what's sort of the infrastructure around you to make sure that you can keep all those decisions straight while you're calling plays, and how has it gone?
Yeah, it's gone okay so far. I think we'll keep working on it, but I think in game, it's Kevin and Mike and the guys on offense, Stud and those guys on the headset talking about what adjustments or what we like the next series, what's going on in the last series, flipping over on defense and being there for those guys, whatever they might need or something I might have seen, talking to special teams, what are we going to do this time around? Are we going to punt? Are we going to go safe? Whatever those conversations are. And then when it comes down to, end of the half stuff, I'm pretty locked in there. I got, again, Kevin and Mike to kind of let me know if there's something that comes up with timeouts or taking a knee or things like that. But most of those scenarios have been gone over already, in our Friday walkthrough or during the week. And then off the field, it's everybody here. It's Mark, it's Ryan Stamper, it's Volt and Quinn and those guys. They've done a great job of, keeping a lot of things off my plate during the week.
Is it, when you're trying to think of like, well, how, even if you're not on offense in that moment, we're trying to attack them, what are we going to do next? The idea of like, oh, this penalty just came up, wait, but we could decline it, we could accept it, like something like that in the moment. Do you always know exactly, can you think of everything in the moment in your head right there, or does it help if someone says, hey, think about this because you have a million things in your head?
I like it quiet. I like it quiet so that because I think sometimes too many people could just make it confusing. And so I kind of like it as quiet as you can on the headset. And then, when the conversation needs to be had, it's had. But I think sometimes when there's too many voices, it just gets confusing.
And then, I'm sorry if this is like a 6-minute question, but when the difference of calling plays as a offensive coordinator and as a head coach, not in the logistical sense, but in the sort of the weight you feel of it or your responsibilities of it. I would imagine that it could be that like, hey, when you're the offensive coordinator, I'm just worried about the offense. I can do what I want. The head coach has to worry if I put the defense in a bad spot. And then when you're the head coach, it's like, man, I'm not just thinking a flea flicker here would be cool. I've got to think, what does this mean for our defense? What does it mean for special teams? I would think maybe as a head coach, you want to be collaborative. You want to make sure everybody has their own voice. But also I would maybe think as a head coach, you think like, finally, I get to do whatever I want. Right?
Very, very comprehensive question you have.
I like to lay out all the scenarios and then you can pick one.
My answer is yes.
Yeah. I've heard that. Like
no, I hear exactly what you're saying.
Is it different?
It is different. It is different. I think that I take a lot of pride in the fact that, and I think all of the guys on offense, is that it's not about just scoring the most amount of points or just, getting the most amount of yards and trying to pad your stats. It's about what, the plan to win and winning. But I do think, you notice the defense, and I think as time goes on, hey, maybe the defense has been on the field a little bit. They're a little tired, may want to slow down here, or hey, defense is rolling pretty good. Let's pick up the pace on this thing. I think you do see it from a little bit of a wider scope. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the team, and that's always been the case.
And what percent of it is, I'm the guy in charge, I finally can do exactly what I want to do? Is there some component of that I'm not fitting my ideas to, the head coach has the final say, we all work on it together? Is there some freedom in that of like, this is exactly how I want to run offense?
I think we've always done it that way, where everybody gets into a room, we put it on the board. Once it's on the board, we all agree on it, and it's a group effort. And that's everybody involved. That's not just me. And whether it's Kevin, Mike, Stud, guys on defense, it's Greg, it's Jeff, it's all those guys involved in it. So it's not just one person. And I think sometimes there's really good arguments. There's good back and forth. But then once we leave that room, we come up with the right decision, and then we all support it.
He really wants to know if you throw it 4 times from the 5-yard line. But there are parallels. I'm sorry.
Coach, thank you very much. That was 47 questions. Do we need a lightning round on Thursday?
That's so obvious.
Second the question started.
It wasn't me. In the bubble they happened, I'm not sure it was him. I mean, I think he knew. Sometimes now they don't. Sometimes they have no clue.
It was the Patriots who would know. Browns don't know. He seemed like he knew. Or maybe that was just playing along.
All right, folks, we are going to open up questions. Folks, if you don't mind, you can lower that mic a little bit.
It wasn't a height joke. It wasn't making fun of your height.
No,
I got your back, Sherry.
We're going to open up the floor for Coach Barnes, front row middle. Dave from 247 Sports.
Hi, Matt. Would you say the special teams are even further along than maybe you expected 4 games in, or just how would you assess where you guys are at overall in special teams?
Well, the culture here has been excellent for special teams for quite a while. So I think it's just trying to keep on pace with the precedent that's been set here. So.
You guys seem to be doing some things better than they've done in the past. Punt returns, some other stuff, blocking kicks, blocking punts. Not that they haven't done those in the past, but it just seems to be a higher level so far. What were some of the things that you really wanted to emphasize coming in to build on what they had done previously?
Well, as you mentioned, there hasn't been any shortage of blocked punts around here. So, we've been fortunate to get a couple returns. Our guys are playing really hard, and sometimes there's a little bit of luck involved. If you get a favorable kick to return, then you have a chance to get an explosive.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Matt, when you look over the years, it's always been a way to earn playing time is to be on special teams. But you've got like Chase Young out there blocking field goals. It seems like people really want to be part of it. How does that work? That you have one of the best defensive players in the country wanting to help on special teams?
Well, that's a rule that goes back to Coach Meyer that Coach Day has upheld. Is the best players play. Our starters have to play on special teams before they can play on offense or defense. And again, that just speaks to the culture here that we have established. And those guys want to be on it. Chase Young is in my ear almost every day about what he wants to do on field goal block, and Tough Borland's in my ear every day about what he wants to do on punt and things like that. So I just think that speaks to the culture that's been established here.
And I asked Coach Day about this a week or two ago, but if you have DeJuan at 6'8", I'm sure you would want to use him every single week. Are you fighting to have him play all year, or do you have to pick and choose your spots?
Well, it just depends on what you're getting. There's a little bit more to field goal block than what meets the eye. A lot of it is how much lift the kicker gets on the ball, and if it's a kicker that doesn't get much lift on it, then you think you can get it with a longer guy. So that's where DeJuan fit in the Cincinnati game plan, and a little bit's based off the protection as well. So it's sort of a week-to-week thing.
Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
What kind of, test or what difficulties does Nebraska's their receivers pose for your secondary?
Well, they're explosive, and then you couple that with the quarterback's ability to extend plays. You've really got to be locked in when the quarterback breaks contain and scramble pass and things like that. But those guys are explosive. They're the type of receivers that can take a short catch and hit you with a run after the catch. And obviously they're fast enough to get down the field in the vertical passing game as well.
And then how do you, in the zone when they can see the quarterback, how do you keep them from looking at the quarterback too much or not enough? How do you teach that balance?
I think some of it depends on what coverages you're playing. So when you're playing man, you want your eyes to be on your man, and when you're playing zone, you can look at the quarterback a little more. So we kind of dictate that by coverage.
My bad. Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
You've been around a little bit, coached different places. Is the culture about special teams different here? Just the importance that every coach says it's important. Is it different here, though?
Been a number of places, and it's a little, how you look at it, maybe a little better, meaning a little more special teams emphasis some places that I've been than others, but no place has been like here. Yeah, definitely. Just again, the culture that's been, and I've seen it from the other side, watching it on tape. I mean, I've had to prepare against Ohio State as well on special teams, and it's, makes for some long nights for you.
When you've got guys like Chase Young and starters who are playing on special teams, and it's also the pathway for young players to get on the field, how competitive is it? And how do you weigh, okay, we want Chase Young on special teams, obviously, but we want these young guys to be able to kind of make their mark a little bit. How do you weigh that?
Yeah, it's constant conversations. I mean, a lot of time spent just managing the depth charts and, okay, this guy's playing on pump block this week and this guy's playing on kickoff return, and then he's probably going to play more defense or he may be playing more offense this week. So it's just a constant conversation with the whole staff, and everyone's great about getting their guys on special teams because, again, that's what we expect here. Before you're going to play offense or defense, you're going to help out on teams. But it's just, a constant a constant conversation, since there's something you have to always be working through, making sure you're getting the right players in the right spot to be successful.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
You talked about using special teams as a chance to get players to earn playing time. Chase is not earning playing time by being in special teams, neither is Krisalavis and players like that. Do you feel like you like the balance of what you've done in special teams in terms of using it to build depth, giving it a chance to have players earn playing time that way, and using your best players?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just an ongoing battle. You're constantly trying to get it right. And, if you look back at every field goal block, Chase Young hasn't been on every field goal block. Chris Olave hasn't been on every pump block. So you kind of pick and choose your situations there where you think you need them and where you think you have a chance. But you're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and where there's a younger guy that you could potentially do a better job than an older guy, or maybe it's kind of, apples to apples there, not necessarily one is better than the other. That's a great chance to get a younger guy an opportunity.
Of these younger guys that you have used in that way, are there any that are flashing and that you like and might be building a foundation for themselves?
There's several guys. To single one out would be tough, but there's several guys that have played well. Bryson Shaw made a big play for us, getting the Garrett Wilson's explosive return started. Obviously, Garrett Wilson had an explosive return. Jameson Williams has been playing really hard in where we've been able to get him on the field. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but again, there's been, and at times, many of the young guys have shown flashes of greatness. Yeah.
Fourth row middle, Patrick from 247 Sports.
Coach, you talked about the challenge of facing this offense. You guys have been tested, but not probably to the level that Nebraska is going to test you. How up for it are these guys to finally really get a test and do it in front of a national audience and whatnot? How much excitement is there?
Well, we'll find out. Monday's our off day, so we really haven't had the boys in here yet this week. Sunday's more of a recap of the previous game. So we'll find out today. If I know our guys, which I think I do, I think they'll be excited to get started. I anticipate they'll be locked in for meetings, and I anticipate having a really good, spirited practice today.
And in a similar vein, just how ready do you feel that the defense is for the challenge that's ahead of them?
Well, we've got great players. I think we've got some veteran guys that have played a lot of football, and there's certainly no stranger to big games and playing on the road. But those things are easier said than done. So look for a great week of preparation and an exciting game Saturday night.
Front row right, Tim from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, two quickies. Number one, Matt, what a great punt returner, what shows up about him almost immediately when you put him into a situation? I'm talking about specifically Garrett Wilson. What has flashed about him that has told you maybe he has a big future there?
Well, he's aggressive. He's going to go attack the ball. That's where it starts. At the end of the day, we want possession of the ball. We don't want to let that thing bounce and roll out on us. So we want to be aggressive and go get the ball, which he does, attack the ball. And then, returner is one of those positions that the great ones, you don't have to coach too much. You kind of just coach them through the little details of, hey, when the ball does hit the ground, or maybe this is the attack point on this return. But the great ones really just kind of have the natural ability.
Another thing, there's no secret that Nebraska's having some trouble with its special teams, especially field goal kicking situations. as you look at that, when you judge a team, how does that play into like how aggressive you might be on a Saturday night?
Well, watching the film, I think they're pretty good on special teams, and I know they've had a couple issues on their field goal team, but that's a great coaching staff, and they do an unbelievable job. So I look for them to make sure that they get that shored up, and we're just going to go play our game and be sound and take our chances when we can.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
What do you like about the rest of your depth and at safety right now that you feel like you guys can absorb the loss of Isaiah Pryor right now?
We got some young guys that I think are extremely talented. And again, I could single guys out, but you guys know the depth chart as well as I do. So going back through the spring and then even into summer camp, and then just knowing what some of our guys that really haven't had as many opportunities are capable of when they have had those opportunities, you feel good about our depth.
And right next door, Doug from Cleveland.com.
The ability, you guys have obviously succeeded with the zone looks you've played this year, but the ability that you have to put your corners in man when you want to, what does that do to an opposing offense when you seem to have a secondary that's comfortable in a variety of different looks?
Yeah, I think anytime that you can, you feel comfortable putting your corners out on an island, that helps you a lot more inside rather than having to give help to everybody everywhere. If you feel like you can put a guy at times in the right situation, if you can put a guy on an island, helps you buy another hat back into the run game or maybe protect another area of the field in the pass game. So it's certainly a luxury when you have guys that can go outside and win their one-on-ones.
And right behind him, last questions, Bill from The Athletic.
Matt, I'm just curious if you guys talk about this. Do you know the last time Ohio State returned a kickoff for a touchdown?
A kickoff for a touchdown. I know, I want to say maybe that was 2010 or 2011, and I think a punt return for a touchdown was maybe 2014, something like that.
Yeah, it was 2010, yeah, for the kickoff. How much is that talked about? I know it's not an easy thing to do, but it seems like an awfully long time for a team that has this kind of talent to go without one. And do you view DeMario as a guy who might be able to get you there? It looks like he's been a shoelace away from breaking one or two already this year.
Yeah, and again, I've been on the wrong end of that one before. He almost broke one last year when I was at another school and set Ohio State up with great field position. So he's explosive. We're just we're trying to give him the best look that we can. And the other thing with that is the rules have changed so much on kickoff now and for safety of the game, so you understand it. But you have to be smart about when you want a fair catch and not always bringing a return out of the end zone. So again, it's really about hitting the right pitches and not swinging at every pitch. Mm-hmm.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Right to keep it?
Yeah.
How we doing?
We'll open up the floor for Coach Hartline, second row left, Ari.
That's got a short.
Jameson Williams was your guy during the recruiting process.
Yep.
And, had a lot of comparisons, as you are well aware of, to Ted Ginn. And that first touchdown of his career kind of looked like Teddy a little bit, I think. Am I crazy?
Oh, that's a different story. I would say, yeah, I'd agree because the track background. He was a hurdler in high school. We had that relationship in high school. I was a track guy. He's a track guy, so we got to talk that a lot. I think that he provides a lot of that. Absolutely. And if you're operating in that world with a guy like that, I think very highly of. That's a pretty good space to be in. So if that's the case, I think sky's the limit for JMO.
How's he progressing, seriously?
Oh yeah, I mean you guys see it. I think if you probably talk to Coach Barnes, you can see the impact he's beginning to have on special teams. That's first and foremost, and then the impact he's having in the receiver room is growing. And I can only kind of go back to previous guys or guys that have kind of journeyed that same path. And and the first guy that's close to me or to us right now is Chris Olave and where his role was this time last year compared to what Jameson's current role is too. So can't speak enough about him. He's working his tail off, and he'll be an exciting guy to watch now and for years to come.
Right, how much can one guy on the opponent affect what you do, whether it's a Chase Young, Khalil Mack in the NFL? Do those guys really impact what your unit does? Do you have to run different routes, shorten routes? How does that work?
Yeah, I think that, anytime you have a very talented player, it can impact, the opposing offense or defense. Our Chase Young example, I mean, our clocks maybe sped up a little bit. We understand, especially situationally, whether we have to get the full depth and maybe not quite as much depth and just maybe have a little more urgency. We're always urgent, but, understanding the pressures the quarterbacks are under. DB also, probably affects the quarterback's approach on how maybe he reads the field. So anytime you have an impact player on the field, there can be, ripple effects throughout the game plan. But in the end, we got to make sure we compete against the highest and we expect the best. And so I think that, although they can impact game plans and maybe in-game play, still got to play football.
It's not just we're going to do what we do no matter what. You always hear that, but that's not really accurate.
No, I think for overall it is. That is accurate. I just think maybe you have to also be smart and put guys in a situation, and maybe we help with the running backs coming out of the backfield. Maybe he chips on his way out and just gives so things that are easy on our end but make things more difficult for them. We maybe try to do whether it be. We feel like there may be a certain DB. Maybe we just motion a little bit, get some free access, and now run the same route we're just going to run. But obviously, we're going to help out our players. Our jobs as coaches is to get our guys in position to make plays. To me, I think the players, it's their job to make the play, but it's our job to help them put them in great positions to do so.
Front row right, Bill.
When the season started, you guys were very optimistic, even though you lost the 3 that you lost last year, that this would be a very good unit. It's proven to be that way. Why do you think, other than just raw talent, it has been? Why do you think that there's been no drop-off?
I think that the guys have prepared to get better every week. I think that we've done a really good job with that. I think that where we were in the spring wasn't good enough, and where we are week 1 is not going. If we're the same week 1 as we are week 12, it's not going to be good enough. I think understanding that there needs to be growth throughout the weeks, and then growth on Saturday is paramount. I think that we've had some younger guys starting to step up too to add more depth. I think overall the guys have been very unselfish. I think that we attained a lot of things we did positively last year, and then we're also adding some new things because we're kind of a different offense than we were last year. So, I think that again, it's really on them. They've bought in. They know the importance of blocking, although we can continue to get better. They know the importance of route running and the urgency and helping the quarterback. So, like I said, I think that it's really easy to remember how we were week 12 and 14 last year, and that be the image of who we were as a receiving corps, and then judge us on week 1 this year. I think if you were to, retrospect, we probably weren't where we wanted to be week 1 last year either, but then we finished where we needed to be. So as long as we continue to progress, I think, we continue to get better, we'll again have hopefully that same feeling this time next year.
Ben Victor's a guy that the whole time he's been here, potential. Is he reaching that now?
Well, I think anyone that comes to Ohio State has potential, or they wouldn't be here. So I think that Ben Vick obviously has a stature that maybe some guys don't have. He passes the look test more maybe than others. So to have that feeling for him, but yeah, and you guys see it. I mean, he's being a huge leader in our room. He's doing a great job on the field, and he'll even tell you he could be better. So if he truly believes that, we're on the right page. If we think that we've made it and now we can kind of just do what we've done, that's not going to cut it. So until we continue to grow and do things we haven't done yet, then we'll continue to make those steps.
Fourth row left, Andy.
Yes, Coach. As these younger players continue to step up and even looking further ahead, with some of the great talent that you recruited, how deep can the receiver rotation go, do you think, for this team, or is there a cutoff?
It's on them. To me, I think that, in practice, you like to put the guys in position to at least get 1 or 2 reps in a practice before you can actually do it in a game. Well, we don't have a ton of reps in practice. Everyone can get the same amount of reps and get the same looks and get the same feel. So if we can't get that done and if we make mistakes, then we can't do that. So really the ownership's on the young men, and they've done a phenomenal job with it. So if we're able to, learn from each other, if Ben Vick gets the rep at a certain position, does, Garrett Wilson and Jameson and Austin Mack also have that same mental rep, even though physically they didn't do it, because we can't give everybody the reps. So our ability to play that way, both psychologically and physically, if we can do that, then more guys can play. Looking ahead, I kind of only get to Saturday at a time, but I'd like to say that everything that's on the field is earned. And as quickly as it's earned, it can be lost because we're only as good as our last rep and we're only as good as our last game. And, I think in sports we have amnesia. We forget everything that's already just happened. So, which is good. And I think that the guys understand that. And I think that week to week, we're either earning more playing time or reaffirming why we're on the field. It's either one or the other. So I think that we've done a good job with that.
You were asked about Jameson Williams. When you have someone like that who's progressing and you have all this talent that's in front of him, how do you balance that in terms of finding a way to get Jameson into the rotation?
I think that that's always the battle, right? In the end, you get what you earn. He's earning more opportunities. I think the guys that are also, quote unquote, in front of him are doing a great job as well. So, again, there's only so many snaps. So if we truly buy into, I have 7 snaps, don't care what they look like, and they continue to grow and we continue to do more, then we try to put guys in more position. I think special teams is a great opportunity to also make an impact on the game. You've seen that. We've done that this year. We've got to continue to do that. But I think that, it's a fine line. And I remember thinking back to other experiences that you always want to be in the situation where I'm ready to play, but maybe I have a couple guys that, hey, have done a good job or doing a good job, and where do I fit in? You don't really want to be the guy that if I get my chance, I'm not ready. I think we have a lot of guys in our room that are ready to play some football, and they're doing a really good job, and they have to keep progressing. And snap counts will work week to week, and we'll see how that works out. But I'm really happy with how they are handling, as a group, the opportunities that have been given.
Garrett was just named the champion for the first time this past week. What have you thought of his progression from week 1 to where he is right now?
I think Garrett's progression has been really good. I think that, everything stems from mindset. Everything stems from approach. And when you have that great approach and you have that great week of practice, it shows up. And I can kind of tell you on Wednesday, who I think may have a great game just based on their practice. So I think he's done a great job with that. It's nowhere where it needs to be, both Jameson and other younger guys, but we'll continue to grow there. And again, we have great leadership in that room to where guys like KJ Hill and Ben Victor are showing you what it looks like. It's really, sports is an amazing thing. It's really not that difficult to understand how to win. You just look around and you're surrounded by it, whether it be in college football or NFL football. And if you be successful as an athlete, just look around. You're probably surrounded by them. If you want to be a great journalist, look around. You probably have some great ones. So if we can just replicate what the ones that are having a good job doing, and they can replicate that, it's proof in the pudding. So I think that they're seeing that, they're buying in, and it's continuing to improve.
Ryan, are clips of Terry still finding their way up into the meeting room for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and even before Terry, so Terry, Paris, Johnny, all those clips have served well, and that exchange from year to year from those guys will continue to be there until someone currently makes a better clip, and that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to replace old clips with new clips. So very clear on what's expected and how to do things.
His start, I know it doesn't surprise you, but does it add more credibility to the guys that are here now? Does it give you more cachet? Are you using it at all, what Terry's doing?
I think that, am I using it at all? I think that social media is a crazy platform. I don't know how much I need to use it. I think that, if you turn it on, your Twitter, your social media is probably going to hit you in the face, especially if you follow any kind of Ohio State football. So I wouldn't say I'm using it. I would say that it does its own thing, and Terry and I talk probably every couple of days. So maybe miles apart, but not very far removed. So, but he's doing well. It's obviously so. All good.
Second row right, Tony?
Brian, you guys have started 6 wide receivers basically since 2014. They know that going in, and that's how this works here. How often do you have to maybe talk to your guys about they only were targeted 4 times this week, or?
I think we're also right now in probably a part of the year where not always every guy probably playing 4 quarters, right? So it can kind of feel a certain way, and that's obviously the balance of it. You'd like to think that, culturally, although, important, it's not the most important thing. I always tell these guys, like, it's okay to get frustrated. Like when guys work their tails off and they blood, sweat, and tears every day or all season long, and they don't kind of get out of it what they want out of it. We have those conversations, but it's okay to be frustrated. What you can't do is allow it to affect your teammates or your team, or your future play. So, get frustrated. It's okay. It's a passionate response. I'm good with that. If you didn't get frustrated, I'd almost look at you sideways. So get frustrated. Don't let it affect your play. Don't let it affect your teammates in the room. So, but overall, it's been good. Guys understand where we're at. They know what the vision is, and I think overall the room's pretty healthy.
Does that allowance for frustration come from your playing days, like when you went through it yourself?
I think there's some experience there from a relatable standpoint, where the conversation-wise, but I guess maybe, and that's my opinion. I think maybe it's a combination, but I just think to tell a guy not to be frustrated when you put in a lot of work it's counterintuitive. I mean, you want him to care a lot, but then don't get frustrated. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So, I'm good with it. Just make sure it's using the right energy.
Hopefully we have time for just one more question, because I want to start to get players up here front row left, Doug.
So along those lines, I'm not joking with this question. Is it ever possible to have too many good receivers?
Say one more time.
Is it possible when you have all these young guys that are coming in next, the good young players you have now, you have good veterans now, can you have too many good receivers because there's a limited amount of playing time, and if you have really good guys who aren't getting a lot of snaps, could that ever be a negative?
I don't think it's a negative. I think it adds a dynamic. I think that there's a lot of conversations, rightfully so, but I guess I never really thought about it. I think if we're really focused on the here and now and the immediate satisfaction that this culture is built on, then maybe. But I think that if we keep in sight the long-term goals, not only for the individual but for the team, then that should be easily handled with grace. I think that I don't think that having you wanting to be the best doctor. Like, I want to be surrounded by the best doctors, I guess, all the time. I mean, I don't want to be like so. If you're going in for heart surgery, do you just want one good doctor, and there are like 5 of them? Okay. So, I don't think that there's some kind of relatability to the same kind of situation, right? I mean, in the end, if you want to be some of the best, you want to be challenged by the best, you want to be surrounded by the best, and you don't want to be like, okay, well, 3's enough. No, I mean, so I think we all feel that way. I think the receivers thrive in it. The younger guys are helping, when guys are on campus, even recruiting, they're like, he's really good. We want him. I want to play alongside him. I want him alongside me. That's the feel in our room. It's how good can this room get? And it doesn't come from me. It comes from the players. So if we can keep that and maintain that, I mean, that's probably a good piece of a pretty good recipe.
Great. Brian, thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
folks, we're gonna open up the floor for questions for Jashon Cornell. Go to the far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Jashon, you guys have been so successful racking up sacks this year and doing various other things. I'm wondering what you guys in your position think of as the most important stat to measure your success. If you're getting this number, that means you've been successful. What stat is that?
I think the most important stat that we praise is stopping the run. I know probably doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but that's one thing that we praise at the defensive line is stopping the run, because if we don't stop the run, we won't be able to sack the quarterback and get sack fumbles.
Have you looked at Nebraska at all? Because they have a formidable run game. But what do you see in them, if you've seen them at all at this point?
I just know Nebraska's a great program. They have really good backs and they have a really good quarterback who can run the ball, and that's one thing that we have to stop the run. That's one thing that Nebraska's really good at.
Second row left, or front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
You guys haven't had to play very deep into a game yet as far as the starters, but because of just the rotation you have on the defensive line, even in the first, second, third quarters, are you noticing a difference in how much energy you have, individual guys have, because of that?
I think we have a lot of energy, because like our coach always tells us, like, if you're tired, come out the game, go as hard as you can, and then next guy up, because I know I can trust the guy behind me. You know, our other defensive linemen can trust the guys behind us. It's not like us, like we call it somebody a second string guy or a third string guy. It's literally the next man up, because we all did the same work in the off season. We all did summer ball. We all did what we had to do in fall camp, and it's like, I feel like our energy level is really high when you're able to come off the field and trust the guy on the field and go back on and go as hard as you can.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Jashon, is there still a sense with you guys that you haven't had Coop yet, Tyreek's only played a game and a half, BB didn't play on Saturday, that the Rushmen can still do a lot more, even than what you've done the first 4 games?
Yeah, I believe the Rushmen can do a lot more. We like you said, we have guys down. Like, Brady hasn't shown much of the Rushmen until we got all our guys together. But as of right now, I think we're doing a great job on the next man up motto, because our coach always says whoever goes down, that person who goes in the game has to play that person's position and their position and play as two people.
And I guess we won't find out till later in the week, but it seems like Coop is maybe getting close. I've been watching him going through pre-games, and he looks like he wants to be out there badly. How has he handled it or been in the room with you guys for the last 4 weeks?
Coop's handled it really well. The one thing that Coop has done really well is help the younger guys. He's been in the playbook with them. He's been in the film room with them, and he's helping them do what he does best, and just knowing the scheme of a different team.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
Is there a different feel this week? I mean, you know this is going to be a real game. That's the expectation. I know you get up for every game, but is there a different feel this week?
I don't know if it's a different feel. We take every team seriously. We have to. You never know which team is going to have their day. So we take every single program that we play as serious as possible. Each team that we play, we don't look ahead to the next team. We do exactly what we need to do for that team.
How much studying have you done of Martinez, and what are your impressions of him?
I played against Martinez last year. I know he's a really good quarterback. He can run the ball, and that's one thing and he can actually pass the ball too. So that's one thing that he's a threat. So that's one thing we have to do is stay in the film room.
Front row right, Tim from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, it's funny, you refer to fumble sacks as one of the things you guys are after now. Is it uncanny how you guys are developing those now, Jashon? What's just sort of the emphasis there?
We don't want to get sacks. Sacks are everybody can get sacks. We want to get sack fumbles. That's one thing that we stress as a D-line. Sack fumble comes first. We want to go for the ball, because making a fumble changes the game. It gives the offense the ball. So that's one thing that we love to do as defensive lions, go for the ball.
One thing, and this, I'm asking this, I think you're playing well. How well is Chase Young playing right now? Is he on another level? I mean, how would you describe him to someone, what he's bringing to the game?
I think people see as Chase is on another level, but he hasn't even hit his level yet. Chase is not even playing his best ball, but to the outside world, Chase is playing great, but Chase can do a lot more that people haven't seen Chase done before.
Front row right, or center rather, Joey from the Dispatch.
How does the way Chase is, just to follow up on Chase, he's still playing pretty well. How does he affect what the rest of you guys do on the line? Does he command a lot more attention? Is that noticeable on the field?
I think it's Chase Young. I think he commands a lot of attention, but like when he commands a lot of attention, they forget about the other guys sometimes. And then we have Davon, we have me, we have Tyreek that's down, Tyler Friday, like Javonte, and we got Coop coming back. I think one thing that they don't know is like this defensive line. This is a great defensive line, and everybody has the opportunity to go make plays.
And final questions, second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Jashon, you being the three technique, how do you approach a pass rush against a guy like Adrian Martinez? You don't really have to worry about contained. You just try to flush him out, or what do you do?
I think one thing that we have to do is close the pocket on him. If we cause him to be in the tunnel, it doesn't allow him to run the ball, allow him to get outside the pocket, because that's one thing he can do really good is get outside the pocket and make plays. And I think by us closing the pocket and putting him in the tunnel, that really helps us on that side.
So you don't have to worry about like slowing down or anything when you're
No,
getting
yeah, no, I don't think so. I just have to rush the ball, close the pocket.
That's enough of the strategy questions. Last questions, over here to the right, second row right, Kyle from the Toledo Blade.
Another fatigue question. The offense has scored quickly a number of times this year, under 2 minutes, under 1 minute drives. I know you guys want them to score points, but does that get tiring when you don't exactly have enough time to be on the sideline?
I don't believe it gets tired. Like I said before, like I have guys behind me that are fresh. So like I don't worry about getting tired in the game because I know I have Haskell behind me. And if I get tired, Haskell knows, like he can see on the field, like when I'm ready to go, like he's coming in to get me. So that's like I don't worry about getting tired on the game because I know the man behind me is gonna come get me. Same with Chase and same with like Tyler Friday and Devon. We know that we have guys behind us that are gonna come in the game and play just as good as us.
Jashon, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Jonah? Good afternoon. Don't worry, doing great, thank you. We'll open up the floor for Jonah Jackson.
How you guys doing today?
Third row left, Dan?
Jonah, just 4 games,
11 Warriors.
4 games into the season, just how good are you feeling about your progress here in your first season at Ohio State?
I'm definitely feeling great about the progress that I'm making each and every game, but there's still things that I got to fix. And, you know, there's mistakes that happen and things that happen on Saturdays that I got to improve upon. But I'm definitely feeling great about the progress, not about just me, but the offense and the unit and the team as a whole.
I know you have had a few holding penalties, I think 1 in each of the last 3 games. Is that something, what are the things you have to do to work on so that doesn't happen in future?
Just be cleaning my technique. And keep my hand inside. That's basically it.
Sorry, front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Jonah, how's the knockdown leaderboard look after 4 weeks?
It's looking pretty decorated. It looks pretty good. I mean, the guys across the border have a few knockdowns themselves, and then the young guys actually starting to make their way onto the board too. But yeah, it's looking pretty good.
So you would describe yourself as, you know, wanting to be a little bit of a trash talker out there to opponents. You do the same thing, looking at knockdowns to compete with the rest of the guys in your room, or how does that work?
I mean, yeah, we compete, but like it's not like I don't like if Wyatt was to get more knockdowns than me, it wouldn't be like, man, he's beating me. It's like, well, that's good. I want him to be successful, and I don't care if I'm not to be the number 1 knockdown leader.
You don't have to be. You don't want to be.
Well, I mean, I want to be, but if it's not, then that's a good sign that the offensive line is just as nasty, and my energy's giving off to the rest of them. So.
Fourth row left, Patrick from 247.
Jonah, obviously there were questions coming in about 4 new starters on the offensive line. You guys have obviously played well. This will be a different test, I imagine, on Saturday night game on the road, a tough team like Nebraska. Just how much you guys looking forward to that challenge to really prove how far you've come?
We're definitely looking forward to the challenge because this is another Big Ten team. That'll always be a big challenge because everybody's dudes up front will be just as big as you or even bigger. So it's definitely something we're looking for, not only for experience, but of like the stadium and playing the game, but seeing the different competition.
Second row right, Tony? No, my bad.
Okay.
Who's next?
Tim.
Somebody help me out. I'm sorry. Third row right, Rob.
In your game planning, watching film, how often do the coaches point out a guy on the other side that's maybe especially talented to watch for? Maybe you don't tailor the whole game plan for him, but does that happen every week? How often? Like maybe it's a linebacker, whoever it may be.
I mean, well, every team has their bright spots, and so yeah, there's definitely guys that the coaches will point out and be like, yeah, this guy is somebody that you definitely have to look out for. And I mean, everybody's pretty teed up, so you just got to break them down to every little thing that they do, whether it's in the run game or in the pass game. So, yeah. You just got to understand what moves they're going to hit on you, whether it's third and long, third and medium, run game, how they're going to play in the pad with their pad level, how they're going to strike you, how they're going to shed, are they going to hit you with a club rip, or are they going to hit you with a swim? You just got to understand what they're going to do.
Far left, Lori.
Jonah, Ryan Day talked about having a message each week, and just the number of people I heard talk last week about keeping up momentum makes me think that he's pretty good at communicating these messages. Does each week have a theme to it?
Yeah, I'd say it's still the keeping the momentum going of what we got here, and improving upon everything we need to do.
And this seems like an extremely versatile offense, more so than a lot of them that I've ever seen. Does that come with challenges as an offensive lineman?
Does that bring challenges, you said?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that with you running a bunch of different plays, there's a bunch of different things you're asked to do.
No, I don't think it's too challenging. Not at all. No. It's just, I mean, being versatile actually helps you. So, yeah.
All right, front row right, last set of questions. Bill from the Dispatch.
Yeah, I'm not even sure you were born the last time Nebraska won a national championship. I mean, they used to be kings of college football.
Yeah.
Is there still a mystique about Nebraska?
I believe so. I mean, they still have a well-decorated history. And I was actually in Lincoln 2 years ago at my former school, and that's a great place, great people, and it's quite the environment.
Great. Jonah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonah. Maybe next time I'll get to ask a question.
Folks, we're going to open up the floor for Austin Mack. Third row right to Rob from the Dispatch.
Austin, I asked him the same question. When you're game planning, watching film, how much, is it every time, every week, coaches point out a special player on that side that you have to be particularly careful of, or keep him in mind, when either whether it's running your route or how you're going to do what you do?
I'd say yeah. Every week, especially in the wideout room, we're always going over all the corners, all the safeties, and alley defenders, making sure that we game plan properly. Make sure we give all our respects to whoever our opponent is. So,
what's the best guys you've had to face? What makes them so good?
I would say, their coverage, how well they play, their movement, athletic ability. I'd say probably that way. Yeah.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Austin, Coach Hartline was talking about he wants guys to maybe have some frustration if you don't get the football. You guys want to catch it, score. I think that's part of being a wide receiver. How do you manage that with, when the offense is rolling, or if you only play 2 quarters, the numbers might not look great. What's the balance there?
I'd just say just trying to be, for me personally, just trying to be the leader I can. Make sure every time I'm out there, I'm maximizing, my blocking, being open, even if the ball doesn't come my way. Everything I can do to look clean on film, the best thing I can do.
Do you get to, when you have one called back, like you did on Saturday, and the opportunities aren't going to come as frequently, how bad does that feel?
It sucks, but it's on film. It's the luck of the draw, but you can't just dwell over the moment. So you just hope for your next one that comes, I can try and get in the end zone next time.
Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Austin, Ryan Day said touches for the receivers will be coming more and more as you guys play 4-quarter games. But what does it take to not get frustrated with maybe the lack of targets?
It's hard not to get frustrated. You especially for me being a last year guy, you're not going to come around many opportunities. But it's to stay humble. It's to know that Terry Lee only had 35 catches last year. It's to stay in your lane and make sure that it's a plan, it's a process, and to trust the plan. It's trying to believe in God's plan, and just whatever happens, make sure I'm doing everything I can properly to be in that right spot in this season.
Fourth row right, Joe.
How important are your off-the-field activities, like
redefining athletic standards. What does that mean to you? Why is that so important?
Oh, I'd say it's very important. It's a big passion of mine. We have done a lot of good things in the past year. For me personally, I've tried to eliminate a lot of distractions going into the season, knowing it's my last season. But I'm very involved, and I want to keep that up as that is part of my legacy as when I leave here.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
Ben Victor, you've been with him for years. Is he different this year in any way, on or off the field?
What you mean?
Just, I mean, as growth as a player, maybe growth off the field as well?
I'd say the only thing I could see that's different from Ben, man, is just his demeanor. He's a lot more confident. He's playing like he should, and he's been very just confident about what he can do and his ability. And I know we can see on Saturdays how he's been playing.
And I asked Jonah this. You might not have been born when Nebraska won its last national championship. Is there still a mystique around them, around the Cornhuskers?
I say yes. It's a intimidating atmosphere. They're a good team. We had troubles with them last year. I obviously wasn't able to play, but we're taking this game very seriously, and they're a good opponent. So it's a Big Ten play.
Fourth row left, Andy from the Lantern.
Yeah, so when you see as a senior, when you see a freshman like Jamison Williams catch a ball and run like that, or when you see Garrett Wilson make a circus catch like he did, what went through your mind in those moments?
I was ecstatic. I was extremely happy for them guys. Cause I mean, to give a quick story about JMO, like he always says to us in the room, he's like, if I can catch a ball, I'm gonna take it to the house every time. And we'll laugh like all you guys are laughing, but he really did. And it was you could see us on the sideline. We were extremely happy for him. And it's cool just to see these young guys get some time and be able to get be successful. So it's great.
Third row left, Dan from 11 Warriors.
Austin, what do you view as your role in terms of working with guys like Garrett and Jameson and helping them continue to develop?
Yeah, I'd say number one, just let them know what the standard is, especially for Zone 6 and especially for wideouts, being able to prepare well for each and every week, what that looks like, how to practice and play at a high level, and ultimately just make sure I stay on them. Anytime they slack or anything, if there's something, I'm always there trying to coach them up. I have a different eye than what Coach Hartline has, so just trying to be like that.
When you see what a guy like Terry McLaurin's done in the NFL the last few weeks, how motivational is that for you, knowing that you're kind of following his footsteps here?
I mean, it's great, man. It's just testimony. He's a guy that's works really hard every single week, and for him to go through his struggles and go through his time he did here and see that and now see the success he's doing in the NFL, I'm extremely happy, and I know that in due time, hopefully, I can go that same path.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
I'm just curious, Austin, when you do have a touchdown like that called back, do you get the Buckeye leave or whatever other reward you would get for that touchdown, even despite the fact that it was taken off the board?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't know how we get leaves, honestly, but I don't think that one counted, so probably not. Yeah.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
Yeah, not to jinx anything, but no interceptions yet for Justin this season. I was wondering from your perspective, do you see that just because of his accuracy, or are you seeing him from a decision-making standpoint, that he's not maybe taking some risks and that's helping keep him unintercepted?
Yeah, I'd say one, the game plan. We've done a really good job of being able to, make it pretty simple for him, especially as wideouts getting open for him. And then I'll also say, like, he hasn't made a lot of tough throws, which is great on his part. He doesn't want to risk it too many times. And I think he's been very mature on knowing when he needs to force a throw and when he doesn't. He can run, so he can take off and run. I mean, Dwayne didn't have that ability too much, but it's cool. It's cool to see how he can, a guy like him. He's very mature, and he's really good at making pretty good decisions.
He really hasn't had his back against the wall. I guess really the whole offense hasn't, I suppose, through these first 4 games. When you guys did those scenarios in practice, what impressed you about him, or did he impress you in those situations?
Just his demeanor. Even if it's tough situations, if we don't complete the pass, or we don't get the third down, he's still, in the huddle, making sure that guys are up on tempo, making sure that they're ready to move the ball, and we're still ready to get the next set ready and go. So I'm excited to see how he looks going into, Nebraska, going into these bigger games down the road.
And final question, second row left, Ari from The Athletic.
Austin, do you lose your mind when you get a touchdown called back? Like, what's going on in your head?
I was actually pretty excited, and then when I turned and I seen there at the catch, it was like, Mack, we got a flag. I said, oh my goodness. You know, it sucks, but I mean, you just hope you can get another one, you know, come your way.
Austin, you mentioned that Terry only had 35 receptions last year, and you kind of said it in a way that, like, you don't need to have 100 receptions to get drafted or have a future. But you obviously are in your final year right now, and you're in a situation where every catch, every play, every touchdown like that is going to matter, right? Is that something that you're thinking about a lot? And how do you just maintain a mindset of, like, things can still work out when something like that happens on the callback?
Yeah, I'd say ultimately I'm at Ohio State, so I have the platform. It just takes, you know, a Noah Brown game, for instance. You know, I mean, it just takes one moment, one game for you to change your career, because we do have that platform. But at the end of the day, it's what is my role? How can I make sure that, you know, as a leader, as a blocker, as a guy who's, you know, backside, if the ball's on the right side, throw the bin, am I always open? You know, as long as I look clean as I can be on film, I know ultimately my potential, and even if the stats don't look as good as they do, I know I can bet on myself, hopefully, that I'll get a chance to the next level.
Touchdowns in Nebraska this weekend?
I'm not going to say that, but, you know, hopefully. Yeah. I wish, you know. So
Austin, thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to open up the floor for Justin Fields. We'll open up far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Just wanted to follow up on this again. You talked about getting acclimated to the physicality of the college game. Is that process going where you wanted it to, and are you still feeling really good?
Yeah, my body feels great. I didn't really feel any pain Sunday, so I think my body's definitely adjusted to kind of the hits and stuff like that. But as I continue to take more hits, just kind of my body getting used to that'll be a new adjustment.
Justin, Austin on Saturday called you a pass-first quarterback. Is that a description you would like to embrace? Is that something that you consider a compliment from one of your wide receivers?
Yeah, so the receivers know scrambling around with me. They know that I want to throw the ball first, and there were probably some times on Saturday where I could have just pulled the ball down and got 10 yards, but I kind of keep my eyes downfield when I scramble around just to see if anyone's open. So just getting on the same page as those guys when scrambling around. That's a big thing that we've been working on.
Front row middle, Dave from 247 Sports.
Justin, I have a non-football question. You've been here about 9 months so far. What are your impressions of Columbus?
I haven't really been around much. I usually just go back and just watch Netflix or something like that. But Columbus is a great city of what I've seen, and there's a lot to do here, and yeah, so that's all I can really tell you about it.
Even on campus, just what's the biggest difference from being in Georgia? What has surprised you, if anything?
So I really don't have any like on classes, like in class classes. Most of my classes are online just because of I guess time, and I can probably spend more time on football and just studying like that. So I've really been around campus that much, but what I have seen is just the campus is beautiful, and the people around it are great. So.
Second row left, Ari from The Athletic.
Justin, we talked to you and Coach Day in the past about just your ability to freelance and get out and space and turn plays that might not be going somewhere into something. What's it like to be at a place right now where you have a coach that's going to encourage that, even if it's scary sometimes, just to allow you to just be yourself and play the game you want to play?
I mean, it's definitely great to have that. He encourages me on what I like to do and kind of what I'm good at. So just not having him kind of on my back and just making me somebody that I'm not, it's just great to have. And now he tells me to be smart with the ball, and that's what I try to do best. But just having a coach like that I think that will definitely enhance my game.
Justin, are you a better football player because you feel like you can go be yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think any football player will be a better football player when he can plays when he can play like himself and just not worried about doing the wrong things and not doing what's natural to him. So just doing kind of what's natural to me, I think that definitely makes me more comfortable and a better football player.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Justin, when you talk about the pass first mentality, do you envision as the season goes on that you will run more if the games get tougher? I mean,
I'm not sure. I mean, it's really all a part of the game plan. So if Coach Day has me run more, then I'll run more. But it's really whatever the team needs me to win.
have there been, I mean, you guys were always going to have the talent edge in the first 4 weeks. It'll get tougher this week. I'm just wondering if there were conversations about, hey, let's not run it as much on the scramble, or I'm not going to call plays for you to run as much because we want to get you into the middle of the season.
Nah, it really wasn't conversations like that. It was just when you do run, just make sure you stay safe and just make smart decisions, slide, get down, don't take too many hits. So those were kind of the conversations, not really just don't run or just do that stuff. So, yeah.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
When you're in your team meetings, meeting room, watching film, I assume that there are particular players on defense that you're warned about. Maybe they're the best player on the defense. A, does that happen, I'm guessing? And B, how often are you thinking about that in the game in a particular play, keeping an eye on that guy because you know he can be a game changer?
I mean, you definitely have to know who you're going up against. So just studying each position and where they are and how they play is a big part. So just knowing who those players are on the opposite side of the ball, I think really helps us as an offense and just makes us more efficient as the game goes on.
How aware are you of it and keeping an eye on that?
I mean, you just have to be aware of them. I mean, you can't just have them in the back of your mind every play. Eventually, you just have to go out there and play and just not worry about who's on the side of the ball. I mean, football's football at the end of the day. So just really just kind of getting in a rhythm and just playing ball. This is what it comes down to.
Far left, Ryan from ESPN.com.
You've been here now since, what, January? How do you compare, like, who you are now as a person and player versus August versus June, even going back to when you first got here back in the winter?
I think I've matured a lot, not only in the game of football but in life. I've went through some obstacles, so just going through those obstacles has really just taught me a lot of life lessons, and I'm definitely grateful now that the position I am in. Just going through all of that, I think it's definitely made me a stronger person.
Has life kind of been quieter in Columbus versus QB1 and all the Georgia stuff and all that?
No, not really. I mean, it's been the same, but as life goes on, you just learn to kind of block that stuff out and just live your life. So I'll definitely continue to do that.
Fourth row middle, Patrick from 247 Sports.
Justin, obviously you played in some games last year, but a game like this, prime time, two top Big Ten teams, is this what you envision college football being for you when you signed up to play?
I think going into big games like this, you can't make a game bigger than it is. I mean, if you do that, then you'll end up, I guess, not playing to your full potential. So just kind of treating this like any other game and just doing the same things we've been doing the past 4 weeks and just kind of executing on offense and doing all that stuff, just preparing the same. I think the team is just going to just play our game, and I think if we do that'll be enough to win the game.
I understand all that, but obviously this will be your guys' biggest test, and I don't think anyone's shying away from that. Are you looking forward to seeing how you guys do against another team with like-for-like athletes?
I mean, am I looking forward to it? Of course we are. I mean, we've played. Well, this team has definitely prepared over the winter, summer, so we're ready for the test, and I don't expect anything less from this team, the coaches, and everyone on the staff, really. So we expect to go out there and do business, and it's just another business trip for us. So yeah.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated, Maven.
I'm intrigued by your answer to Dave's questions about Columbus and about campus. Do you think people have any idea the level of commitment it takes on the part of you, your teammates, to be elite at what you do?
I think people have some sort of idea, but they don't know all the little details we actually do, whether it's coming in on an off day, coming in and get extra work in. I think they have kind of a slim idea, but they don't know everything that we do. So, yeah.
About the
think if you were to ask the average fan, they'd think that Justin Fields is sitting in class and he's interacting with classmates and he's walking across the oval and he's a college student, but he's a football player too.
Yeah.
And the life you described is really not that life. Is that accurate?
I think some people have the idea of what we do. Like I've talked to some people and they think all day we're just working out all day, and just kind of looking at film all day, just doing football all day. Like we're just football players. Some people think we're regular students, so it's kind of I guess a miss and match thing. But just kind of balancing those things out, and but yeah, I'm not sure what people think, but people just have different opinions on what we do and kind of how our everyday life goes.
Front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
What do you enjoy about getting to challenge this #1 defense in practice?
What do I enjoy?
What do you enjoy? What do you get out of that challenge?
I mean, it just makes the offense a better offense at the end of the day, just going up against those guys. And it definitely tests the receivers. And they know more of our concepts because we've run it against them a lot. So just kind of fitting the ball in the tighter windows and doing all of that stuff, I think helps the offense, helps me specifically, just fitting those balls in the tighter windows and just working on the chemistry with the receivers and all that stuff. And our D-line's amazing, so it definitely helps our O-line, and I think it just helps everyone on the offense.
The opposite is also true, though. I mean, you conscious of that I need to be sharp, we need to be sharp, whatever, to make our defense better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we compete a lot every day, so just going against them, I don't think we take each other lightly, and when we're on different sides of the ball, unlike the game, it's kind of like we want to beat you like in practice. So, I mean, just the competitive nature in practice and all of that stuff definitely helps the team get better as a whole.
And final questions, front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
We'll follow up a little bit more on the kind of the lifestyle question. I mean, is there a part of you that wishes you could be kind of a normal student and do all that stuff? You know, walk across the oval, have more interaction with students, or are you fine with the way it is?
I mean, I'm fine with the way my life is right now. I mean, I wish nothing happened differently in my life. So just kind of embracing all the stuff that I do right now. I think you can't really hope to be somebody else or hope to have a different lifestyle that you have. You can only just have what you have right now and just make the best out of it. So I definitely enjoy my life right now and just hope to make the best out of it.
And one question about Ben Victor. You obviously had some talented guys at Georgia. How talented is he?
Ben's an all-around player. He can block. He's a great route runner. He's has great moves after the catch, and he can jump high. He's a big body, and he has great hands. So just having him as a receiver, a big threat down the field, red zone, all. So he's an all-around receiver, and I'm grateful to have him.
Justin, thank you so much.